Hi, I'm Lina Poloche, and today I'm going to talk about the country Nigeria. So, at first, we are going to see what is the location of Nigeria. So, Nigeria, or as it is also known, the General Republic of Nigeria, is located in the western of Africa. In this case, Nigeria is one of the countries with borders that meet with the Niger River and the Benue River. Um, in this case, Nigeria has 36 states, but the major cities of Nigeria are Lagos, Kano, Ibadan, Abeokuta, and Port Harcourt. The capital of Nigeria is Abuja, and it has another name, or we know also this the capital as Federal Capital Territory. After knowing its location, I'm going to talk about its demographics. In this case, the flag of Nigeria has the color white and green. Green represent agriculture, white represent unity and peace. Before, they were colonial flags during the time of colonization. The current flag of Nigeria was officially adopted on 1st October 1960, the day that the country gained its independence. The flag was designed by Michael Taiwo Akinkumi, a Nigerian student at that moment, but currently he is alive. For another hand, we have the language and dialects. So in Nigeria, usually the first language is English and French. But around all the Nigerian territory, you can find 500 dialects, such as Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Pidgin, among others. But usually, if you travel there to Nigeria, the people speak with you in English or in French. It's a good point at this moment. For another hand, we have the currency, Nigerian Naira. The Naira is the official currency in Nigeria, but also exists Kobos, but Kobos is the coin, but they use more banknotes. For example, if you have 1,600 Nairas are equivalent to $1. And for another hand, we have the population. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. The total is around 227,882,945 inhabitants, compared to Ethiopia and Egypt. It has a population of between 114 million and 180 million inhabitants in this case. Okay. This topic is very interesting because it's about the ethnies and beliefs of Nigerian people. I think that this topic is very interesting because we can find a lot of information, a diversity of customs, and a variety of festivals, and a lot of things. But at the same time, this has been one of the issues that has caused differences between the nationals themselves. Okay, the first one is religions. In this case, the main religions there is Christian. In some population, practice Muslim, Catholic, and Anglicans, and Pentecostals. For this reason, when you travel to Nigeria, you will find or to see mosques, Christian church or Catholic church, as some follow monastics and polytheistic religions. But in this case, Christians mostly live in the south and Muslims lives in the north. Um, for another hand, we have the ethnias. The larger ethnic groups are the Hausa, Fulani, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. In this case, the Hausa and Fulanis lives in the north, or where ubicate in the north, and the Yoruba is in the southwest, and Igbo is in the southeast. Right. So it's important to know that. We will talk about them later more deeply. In this part, we are going to talk about the political system, economic system, and an important character in the Nigerian history. In this case, the political system at present, its political system, it works with a framework of a federal and presidential republic and a representative democracy. In this case, it means that the federal government shares power with the state's government. Now, Nigeria has 36 governments as established in the constitution. For that reason, they need to work together. In this case, the political system works with a legislative branch, judicial branch, and it has political parties. It's important to know that in until 1999, Nigeria has spent periods of military rule in its history. But since 1999, a demographic civilian government has been in place. Now, each government has a duration of 4 years. We have an important character that is Bola Tinubu, who is the president of the National Federal Capital Territory. In this case, he was select he was elected as president on May 29 of 2023, and he was previously governor of Lagos. Currently, he is the president and also is the leader of the All Progressive Congress. For another part, we have the economic system. The economic system is a mixed economic system. It includes a variety of goods of private freedoms with centralized economic planning and government regulation. Also, in Nigeria, is part of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States. It's important to know that mostly the economic system in Nigeria depend on oil. It also has a diversity of economy with a growing services sector and significant agricultural potential at the moment. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Nigerian history. So, in this case, Nigeria is a country with a quite interesting historical significance, which over the time was formed by events that significantly marked the history of this country. The first to write about the Nigeria territory were the Arab travelers and Berbers who visited the north of this country. And part of these writings were about the different race and ethnies that live in the territories. A large of number of ethnic groups were identified that inhabit these lands and which evolved over the time. At first, we have the Hausas and Fulanis. They live in the north. We have the Yoruba. They lived in the southwest. They lived between the 17th and 11th centuries between the west coast of Nigeria and Dahomey. In 1910, the German archaeologist Frobenius shared the art of Yoruba with bronze. In this case, we have the Igbos too, the Nok. They lived during the 5th centuries and during the year 1936, the first articles made of molded clay and some inventions that made with iron and tin were discovered and they had advanced in terracotta and metallurgic. There were also several ranks, but the most relevant one was the Kingdom of Benin, was recognized for its art, its political structure, and influence. It's important to know that their ethnic groups were influenced by beliefs about Mother Earth and nature. It was an important characteristic of these ethnies. The European powers began to extract raw material from Africa and start with the black slave business. In the European market, then they named the territories as Slave Coast. But the time at the time ethnic groups were moving to different areas to Nigeria and mixes with different ethnic groups. In the 15th century, the Hausa and Fulani, who were in the north, were Islamists, and those who lived in the south had already had contact with the Christianity. It's an important thing that for that reason today we can see a lot of variety of beliefs and religions there. The British colonial era. These events take place during the 14th and 20th centuries. In this case, the first European to arrive on the shores of Nigeria were the Portuguese in the 14th centuries, and with them, the slave trade. Treaties were made between European countries to negotiate slaves because the birth rate was quite high and they saw it as an advantage for their business. It was one of the factors that influenced the colonizers to supply 144 slaves. In this case, one of the English companies working there is committed to supply this amount for a period of for 30 years. That is a lot. For another hand, it's important to note that the abolition of the slave trade and commodity trading that they use of their resources such as a palm oil for sale abroad, and it was one of the products that separates the sale of slaves in terms of trade. But we have last point, the British colonial era. It's important to note that at that time, the country trade and politics were led by three important figures: a diplomatic, Sir John Bearcroft; a merchant, Sir George Taubman Goldie; and above all, a soldier, Sir Frederick Lugard. It's important to know that because they did a lot of things for to help the economic of this country. Take into account that the main business was the sales of slabs. A little bit more about the history of Nigeria are the important facts. First, we have the creation of the colony and protectorate of Nigeria. The British government merged to the Northern Nigeria Protectorate and the Southern Nigeria Protectorate, together with the colony of Lagos, creating the colony and protectorate of Nigeria. It happens in 1914. For another hand, we have the recognized leaders as Herbert Macaulay and Nnamdi Azikiwe. They were key figures in the Nigerian nationalist movement. Macaulay, who was called the father of Nigeria nationalism, founded the National Democratic Party of Nigeria. Azikiwe, a prominent journalist and politician, advocated independence and plays a crucial role in information of national consequences. The another point is the political parties and regional rebels. After independence, Nigeria experienced intense regional and political rivalries among the major political parties, which were often aligned with ethnic and regional lines. Next is the independence and the First Republic. It happens between 1960 and 1966. Nigeria gained its independence from the United Kingdom on October 1st of 1960. Established the First Republic, this period was marked by political challenges, ethnic tensions, and regional rivalries, which ultimately led to the 1966 coup death. And then we can see as an important moment its history, the coup death of 1966. In January of 1966, a group of military officers staged a coup death, overthrowing the civilian government. The coup, motivated by corruption and political tensions, plunged Nigeria into a period of military rule and contributed to the outbreak of the Biafran Civil War. The Biafran Civil War, also known as the Nigerian Civil War, was an armed conflict that took place in Nigeria from between 1967 to 1970. On May 30, in 1966, the southwestern region declared its independence and proclaimed the Republic of Biafra. But in 1960, Biafra surrendered and was retained into Nigeria. And we have the last point, that is the repression and corruption. I think personally it's a very interesting point, because during the long periods of military rule in Nigeria, the repression and corruption were disparate problems. Military governments often restrict civil liberties, suppress dissents, and engage in large-scale corruption. That now, which had a negative impact on the country. Okay, finally, we are going to talk about the contemporary Nigeria. It's an important point, because is the result that the all the history of Nigeria left before in the past. So the area of military government and the return to democracy. It happened between 1966 and 1999. The era of military governments and the return to democracy, there were many years when the military took the control of the government. This meant there were no free elections, and military leaders made all the decisions. But after a long time, the people of Nigeria fought to get the right and have the opportunity to choose their leaders back. And finally, in 1999, Nigeria returned to having a democratic government. Um, but now we can see for the news, for a documental videos in YouTube, that the current challenge that Nigeria has. These are terrorism, ethnic conflicts, and some problems with their economy. Nigeria face some big problems today. They are terrorist. They are terrorist groups that cause a lot of violence. There are also fights between different ethnic and religious groups, and the economy isn't always strong. These problems makes life difficult for many people in Nigeria. And their religious conflicts are very is very similar to the last point, the last point, because Nigeria is a country with many different people, with different cultures and religions, but sometimes these differences cause problems and fights between groups. And it's important to find always to live together peaceful and respect each other, each other difference. But we know that is difficult, it's not easy. At this moment, is we can see a lot of problems around the world, where the religion is a problem, where the religion is, or the ethnic or the race or whatever is a problem. So it's a really important point. And the last point of this presentation is the Nigeria potential future. If you have seen before a documental or video about Nigeria, you know the situation that they live right now. But Nigeria has a lot of potential. It's a country with many young and hardworking people, and it has many natural resources. So if the people of Nigeria work together, they can build a better future for everyone. But we know that if the government doesn't help them to get to get easier the opportunities for a better job, for a better education, for a better healthy system or something like this, it makes feel that to Nigerian people that the life is hard. But it's important to note that if the Nigerian economy, which is centered on large companies and cities, creates a stark contrast between wealth and poverty, however, Nigerians hold out hope for a better future, either through internal improvements and through migration.